Good afternoon, everyone. I think everyone is now ready to hear our panel discussion. Right. Compostable packaging is either the most misunderstood opportunity in sustainable materials or a solution still waiting for the world to catch up. We have 30 minutes to find out which is which. My name is Maria Monique. I'm the Strategic Marketing Manager for the Flexible Packaging business here at Tagleaf Industries, and I will be your moderator for today. This afternoon, we have a fantastic set of panelists representing the full value chain. We have from the Industry Association, raw materials, converter, and the brand owner. So to start, let's just have a little bit of a warm up. You do an introduction of yourself really quickly, your name, what you do, your company, and answer the question, or rather complete the sentence. Compostable packaging genuinely makes sense when...
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Afsaneh Nabifar. I'm leading global advocacy and sustainability for biopolymers at BSF. But today, I'm here with you with a different hat. I'm representing the Compostable by Design platform, which is an association. And in our view, compostable packaging makes sense when it's supporting circular economy, when it's reducing the plastic contamination in bio-waste, or increasing or supporting the collection of bio-waste.
Hello, my name is Haftka. For more than almost 2 decades, active in the bioplastic business. The last 2 years, worked for Kaneka, one of the leading PHA, bio-based and biodegradable home compostable polymer. My function is business development, account management. I think composting is a valuable option for end-of-life scenarios. One of them, managing CO2 balance properly.
Buongiorno a tutti. Good afternoon. My name is Fabrizio Radice. I'm the owner and the general director of Corapack, a converting company located in the north side of Italy. It's more than 15 years that we are dealing with compostable material, and that we are producing flexible film for the market, so for the end user directly. For us, compostable materials and compostable films has a sense when the packaging after use remain dirty, remain contaminated by the product inside. If you have food or if you have a cosmetic, you have an organic product where it's not possible to totally clean or empty the packaging, this has a sense absolutely to be moved into a compostable solution, because on the contrary, will be too complicated to recycle or could pollute the recycling stream. That's our vision.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Klingenberg. I lead material science for Mars. I've been working on next generation sustainable packaging. And I believe that compostable packaging makes sense for small format food packaging, particularly in parts of the world where composting can be a circular end of life.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Now, to start a little bit, we're going to give you a little bit of an understanding, a basis of the definitions, okay? Before asking Stan here, I would like to just have a little bit of an interaction with you and be honest. Raise your hand if you know the difference between compostability and biodegradability. Show of hands if you know. Okay, great. Now, for those of you who do not know the difference between biodegradability, compostability, Dr. Stan, can you explain to us what is the difference of those two?
That was ironic, the Dr. Stan. It became my brand now. Well, compostability is, as I said, one valuable end-of-life option. It's quite complex, more complex than the understanding about recyclability, because there are many levels of composting. The easiest one, most popular one, is industrial composting, which require industrial facilities. Make it short, is biodegradation compostability at elevated temperatures, about 60, 55. Another more advanced level, which our polymer PHA, Kaneka Green Planet, meet requirements is home compostability. Home compostability is misleading, doesn't mean you can destroy material at home. It's just degradation at low temperatures, ambient temperatures. There's another level, very important, marine degradation for certain applications, very important. However, depending upon the position value chain, some businesses decided do not promote because that's maybe encourage people for littering. For us as a raw material supplier, we're promoting the whole package. It's home compostability, industrial compostability, marine degradation, but also soil degradation. Whenever accidentally material falls down into the soil, after a period of time, material get degraded. All the end-of-life scenarios are certified by professional institutes, quantified, so we can advertise or give people idea what is the option for end of life for each material, each product.
Okay. And Fabrizio, since you're the one that's a little bit closer to the market, can you give us a market perspective on, does the claim on the pack matters?
Not so easy to answer because at the end, what is misleading a little bit our market is exactly the word home compostability. I think that this kind of definition create more problem than what was solving in terms of problem, because home compostability, people think that you can, put in your garden and it will disappear in a very short time. Stan was saying composting is a complex situation, so it means that will be totally degraded, but also the quality of the degradation should bring to a compostable to grow seeds and so on. So I think that the claim is absolutely fundamental to understand where to place the product after use. So we cannot mix up a standard plastic with a compostable one, because from one side you could create more problem. When you mix a compostable plastic with the standard one, you cannot recycle anymore so easily the standard one. So having a clear claim, it's important. At the customer level, probably compostable should be enough. Then from a technical point of view, depending on the application, depending on several points, we have to distinguish what is a home compostable or faster compostable or low temperature compostable. The name probably should be changed, but at customer level we have to distinguish between what is compostable and what is not compostable. If the situation became too complex, you mix up also the mind of the consumer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fabrizio. Speaking of what is claimed on the pack, so the gap between, quote, this packaging is compostable and this packaging will be composted is enormous. So Afsaneh, what are the non-negotiable elements of a credible claim and the most common mistakes that brands make?
Good question. Perhaps was Eric, I don't look at your side as a brand. I think the non-negotiable is the certification. So certification is the fundamental element of a third-party independent organization like DIN-CERTCO or TÜV Austria to check that the packaging at the end is really compostable in whatever environment the producer is claiming to be compostable. But at Compostable by Design, we believe that one can go beyond just getting a certification by trying to work closer with the composting and organic recycling organizations or composters to make sure that the packaging at the end of life is actually working in reality. So what we have done at Compostable by Design, having several biogas and composting association as part of our association, is to work on the document called field testing protocol. And that basically complements all the work that is done with the certification. Yeah? So how, if a packaging producer would like to check how the package is working in real life, then this protocol gives direction, how should this be tested to make sure that the results are reproducible and representable. So this is, I think, quite important. So being really close to the end-of-life recyclers, and for compostable packaging, that is really composters. I think this is something that is, for example, done very nicely in Italy. So I look into Fabrizio. This is long years of working together, but can be improved in other countries for sure.
Also because sometimes what the composter initially says that there is a little misalignment between what the rule of the EN 342 say and what they are really doing. So being closer and closer in order to be really compostable, not in terms of a theoretical process, but in terms of real process, has to be a road that we have to persecute, absolutely.
If I may add one other point, it's actually quite important for the brands when they want to decide which market to introduce the material, to really understand the infrastructure for composting in that region. So, for example, if you're thinking about Southeast Asia, which there are no industrial composting facilities existing, maybe thinking about putting an industrial compostable material on the market, maybe it's not the best strategy. But thinking about home compostable or community compostable packaging, meaning packaging that could be biodegraded in community, composting could be a strategy. Because in these regions where there are really no infrastructure, whether for composting or recycling, in our belief, it's maybe much easier to set up a community composting than try to set up industrial composting or a big-scale chemical recycling for complex packaging. But again, for example, in Europe, in regions that they have a very good infrastructure for mechanical recycling or chemical recycling, then in our view, if a package is clean and it can be properly recycled, it should be going for recycling and not going for composting.
Thank you, Afsaneh. Eric, you wanted to add something because I'm going to ask you something afterwards. Because now she talked about brands. Eric, I wanted to point the question to you. Mars sells into markets from Singapore to South Africa to Germany. You guys are everywhere, each with entirely different composting infrastructure. So what does responsible on-pack communication actually look like at a global scale? And you're free to comment on what Afsaneh mentioned.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's critical to remember we want packaging after the consumer uses our product to enter a managed waste system. We don't want it to go out into the environment. We don't want consumers to have to handle our packaging as waste by themselves. We want it to go to a managed waste system, and that's recycling, composting, no matter what. And so keeping that on-pack labeling so that it enters a managed waste system is the most important thing. I think the other side to that is we talk the difference between home compostable, industrial compostable. What we're really talking about is technical performance. So as in the development efforts that we're doing at Mars, we target performance at the home compostable level. That brings us several advantages. First and foremost, we know composters out there use different processes. They tweak their process depending on their feedstocks. They have operate in different areas of the world with different temperature conditions. We're designing for home compostability to meet shorter cycle times for industrial compostability and to meet a broader range of industrial composters. So the testing that we've done, right, and test market launches and test with composters, we've designed for home compostability standards, but we've met 60-day cycle times in industrial composting. So really important to understand, those are our customers as well. They have a product to produce. We need to make sure that they can produce their product in an efficient way. So I think for brands all over, right, we look at that and say, what's the best that we can do to make sure our packaging ends up in a managed waste system? How do we do that? And then what are the opportunities? So I really like the idea of, areas that don't have robust waste infrastructure. How do we set up composting facilities? But we know in that case, composting is not going to be industrial. So we're going to have to use standards and designs for packaging that operate at lower temperatures and maybe not the most ideal conditions.
Just to add to that element, so I think working with the government and local municipalities, it's also absolutely crucial, because setting up community composting is really a joint effort, for example, with the municipalities. And we have a country like in France that community composting is actually taking place in a lot of their municipalities beside industrial composting. So I think in that value chain of different, let's say, actors, the municipalities and the legislators and the policymakers are really important factor to make sure that really the product is ending up where it should end up.
Thank you, Afsaneh. Now we move on to the next part. So I think we've settled now a little bit what should be on the pack, how do we make claims, what is the difference between biodegradability and compostability. So Afsaneh, I'm going to turn back the question to you. Based on the compostable packaging by design framework, if there are any brands out here listening, when should a brand pursue compostable packaging and when should it walk away?
Thanks for the question. So this was actually one of the first topics that we started working on at Compostable by Design, because we had a feeling that there is a lot of misunderstanding when a packaging should be compostable, when not. So basically we have in our document a very easy and interactive decision tree that asks three main questions. Does your package help to divert bio-waste into the bio-waste stream? Does your package contain bio-waste or organic waste? And is your package currently a type of package that is contaminating bio-waste? If these three answers are yes, then it definitely makes sense to make your packaging compostable. So giving examples, bio-waste bags are helping to collect more bio-waste into bio-waste streams, so absolutely makes sense that they are compostable. Tea bag, fruit stickers, and coffee pads are items that are frequently, just intuitively by consumers, put into the bio-waste, so they are there. And if they are contaminating the bio-waste, the best way forward is for them to be biodegradable and compostable in that environment, so they are not leaving plastic contamination in that bio-waste. And there are other applications, like totally food-soiled applications. One clear example is, for example, a half-eaten lasagna packaging on the go, which is paper-based. This is definitely not going to end up into recycling, and by many of the consumers, because it's paper and contains bio-waste, it's just put into the bio-waste stream, and this is an example of item that really makes sense to be compostable. As Eric said, also small format flexibles are items that are many times put into the bio-waste, and this really makes sense to be compostable. So the decision tree is there, and the website is available, and you can check.
May I say? Hi. I think you can make it very simple. Whenever used material cannot be recycled, the valuable end-of-life option is compostability. And this, because we are talking about, I think we have to understand this, that the magnitude of the two scenarios is different, because the recycling really is being used for all the conventional plastic as well. And just 10% of the used plastic is being recycled for one or another reason. But whenever, and we should consider the used plastic as a resource, as a source of material. Now we're facing the oil crisis in Iran, and we should make 90% out of the 10. And that's why the design for recycling and composting is so important in the future.
Thank you. Now let's go a little bit to what actually is in practice. So, Fabrizio, where are you seeing compostables genuinely displacing single-use plastics, and where do you think it's still a wishful thinking?
Very interesting question. The basic is the same that we have already said. So even in reality, packaging that are today dirty, there is a possibility to transfer into an organic and a compostable solution, and is present on the market. So we have a lot of customers using leading film to close trays of ready meal for the distribution in the hospital, for the distribution in the school. Obviously, when kids in the school at their lunch, usually they have a little bit of pasta, a little bit of carrots or beans. I don't eat this one, I don't eat the other one. Having the possibility to collect everything into the compostable and waste as a compostable, as an organic waste, helps a lot in the organization also of a school, in terms of responsibility, in terms of everything. So this is an application that is really present on the market. Like coffee capsules is another typical application where you have a part of organic powder after the brewing of your coffee and a part of plastic. Up to date, there is the technology to transfer the capsule body and the top lead film into compostable. This is an application that is already on the market and is absolutely welcome. Even in terms of shelf life, you can obtain, maybe not 24 months like when are you using aluminium, but up to date, 18 months with the compostable material are already a good shelf life that is done and it's present on the market, is used every day. We have customers also packing soft cheese. Even in this case, a small portion of soft cheese. Once you open and you eat your cheese, cheese is fatty, is greasy, so stay sticking a little bit on the film. You cannot ask to your family to open perfectly the packaging, clean it, or wash it with the soap because it's greasy before wasting into the plastic bin. Being organic and being compostable is much, much easier. This is what is present. What is missing, we have to divide it a little bit, the market, in some section. If you don't need a big shelf life and you have a dry product, easy, very easy, and it's already present. Not so long shelf life and humid product inside, it's okay. It's already present, so the ready meal, for example. Powder for long shelf life, coffee. Okay, we are on. Now the next step, the final one will be liquid, or in any case, wet products and long shelf life. We are almost there. So we are in the final phases to test even all these kind of application. Now you know that the PPWR will ban from the market the monodose of condiment of ketchup or sauce and so on. Now we have developed a solution to move into compostable this kind of application, and we are finally testing the shelf life of even the more aggressive product like ketchup with this material. So the vision is this one. Step by step, we have to find solution for every kind of application, always with the vision, if it is contaminated, if it is organic, and blah, blah, but it's not blah, blah. It's the reality. It's the reality, and a part of the theory, even the market is understanding then when the portion is too small, so difficult to manage into the waste management system, or when it's too dirty, that's the application.
Thank you, Fabrizio. And Eric, just from the brand's perspective, because now if you're going into a more compostable packaging, what problem is compostable packaging actually solving? Is it more consumer perception? Is it operational waste streams? Is it environmental performance? From your perspective, what does it solve?
I think it's a couple things, right? One is, obviously it's the operational, the waste stream. Right? We want to make sure we get into compost facilities where it makes sense and that we're recycled that way. I think the other thing that we're learning is we're able to start to pair compostable materials with other recycled materials like paper. And so we're able to start thinking about packaging different ways. And I think this comes into the challenges we face, particularly for small format packaging. How do we design them to be recyclable first? How do we think about that? How can we use those materials? And then how can we, enable other recycling streams? And so it's not that compostable materials can't be recyclable, it's we don't have the scale today. So, think about the mismatch in all the traditional plastic we have versus compostables and the availability. There'll be a long-term transition there before we're 100% compostable, recyclable from those new materials. But what we can do is bridge the gaps, right? Where compostable absolutely makes sense from a material size, right? A format, an application, use compostables. Where we can get to materials and design formats that can be recyclable and compostable, focus on those because we can get recyclability first, compostability is a second option. That helps brands too because when we're crossing markets with packaging types, we have packaging types that maybe fit more than one market, and that streamlines our supply chains. So we're developing a lot of stuff very early at the front end where we're seeing performance come up, where we're tackling difficult things that people didn't think we could tackle with compostable materials, and I think we're having a lot of fun as material scientists with that right now. It's still coming, right? And I think we're not going to turn the switch on tomorrow and see everything being compostable and paper, right? This is a journey that we're taking, and we're taking it for all the right sustainability reasons and circularity reasons.
May I throw a little comment? You would like to use this opportunity to get rid of the one basic myth, which is, assist me for like my bioplastic lifetime. That's biocompostable doesn't mean it's not recyclable. We talk about polymers. When I started here, there was an image, bioplastic is something strange, something new, something dangerous. No, most of the bioplastic are polyesters. There's a polymer family, which is like PET bottle, just more reactive. So every bioplastic is always recyclable. Only problem is there are two issues: the magnitude and logistic for collecting. If you solve the two issues, you can recycle compostable material as well.
Thank you, Dr. Stan. Now, I've heard a few times in the panel, we also tackled recyclability. Okay, I'm just going to provoke you guys a little bit. Each one can answer. That it seems recyclability has a better PR than compostability. It's not picking up as recyclability, or it's not as well known as recyclability or recycling. Is it a lack of consumer education? Is it a system problem? Is it a regulatory problem? What is the problem?
Well, I think the problem is maybe negligence. So when we think about the circular economy concept, everybody knows about the technical loop of circular economy. That is, keeping the material in the loop, keeping the technical material like plastics in the loop, like fiber in the loop. But what most of the people neglect is that the circular economy has another nutrient cycle that is talking about keeping the nutrients in the loop. And that is what compostability is trying to achieve, is for things that cannot be recycled, that are full of nutrients and bio-waste. Basically, composting is a vehicle to bring this bio-waste into the bio-waste and organic recycling. And I think that's where most of the people don't understand, because most of the packaging people come from the material science. The moment you start talking about organic recycling and nutrient loop, you just lose the interest. But actually, at the end, we need the nutrient loop for basically harvesting and farming the compost has a quality. So these are two elements that have to go hand in hand.
I think, to me, the major reason for kind of misconception or misbalance is the magnitude, simply. The quantity of biopolymers is maybe less than 1% of the entire plastic consumption. So the recyclability simply affects much bigger volumes from classic, conventional polymers than the biopolymers. And the biopolymers, as I said a few minutes ago, offer both recyclability and compostability. But overall, the magnitude of the business opportunity is bigger for for recyclability. That's simply more people talk about recycling than composting.
There is also another point that, honestly, I think that we, in terms of world of plastic, start to close it. Sorry, made some mistake in the past in terms of communication, because maybe somebody of you remember, at least in Italy, there was one of the first advertisement in the TV was for a company producing toilet paper. The toilet paper was wrapped with a compostable packaging. And on the TV, there was a spot where a group of Boy Scouts were leaving the plastic into nature, into a forest, and were peeing on the plastic, saying, "Okay, that's all." You know, and this was the first advertisement in Italy about compostable material. That means that in the mind of the people, you can leave your compostable packaging in the garden and that will disappear. Guys, no. And that's also the name home compostability. Honestly, was a big mistake, because bring again the mind into the possibility to leave the product in nature without any collection, without any control, and it will disappear. I think that we have to educate a little bit the people. So, of course, the magnitude, the quantity is absolutely a fundamental importance. But we have to understand how to communicate better the value, because there are a lot of value behind. Absolutely, absolutely. But if the people don't understand that we have to place the compostable packaging into the organic wastage and not in nature or where else, this could be a problem, because, of course, when we will have everything soil compostable, that's fine, but we will not have so easily everything soil compostable, able to do everything, a high barrier, and so on and so on. So we have to understand that we have to teach the people to collect and to manage properly the product. So in this case, the value, the perception of the value could be higher and higher. So for me, the message is instead of having 3 bins at home, because you have the organic, you have the plastic or the multi-material, the light multi-material, and the indifferentiated waste, the bin of the indifferentiated has to disappear, because everything that is there has to be into the compostable one. So that should be the evidence of the value that we can recover from that.
That's okay. I think a lot of it is on communication and education. Right? We as scientists use terms, we think about things, we're still arguing and discussing things when they're new, and often what happens is we get asked to simplify things quickly, and we do that quickly and with maybe not the forethought that we should have had, right? And so that leads to confusion. I think secondly, it's a scale issue, right? How do we get to scale with these materials? How do we use them? And most importantly, when we're talking about composters, because I do think it's a circular issue, I think we have to remember that they're producing a product. They're not just a waste handler. They're not putting something in the ground. They're not letting it go away. They're producing a product. And so when we give them something, whether it's even an anaerobic digester, it has to produce value for them. And so what's happening in this sustainable world that I think is probably fantastic for all of us is we're seeing new materials come out that enable circularity in ways that we didn't think about before. We're seeing, conscious of environmental impact. Flexible packaging is great on the front end, We just don't have that circular back end to close the loop now. And so we think about material to material. That's great. Often when we're talking flexibles, we're going another step back in that loop. And so whether it's a chemical pathway in an industrial chemical world, or it's a biological pathway where we're feeding nutrients, how do we keep that loop going so that it's not just waste in the ground? And, there are other people working on alternative ways to recycle that are also biological. And I think that's part of the future as well, as we're seeing it not just be composters or biogas. We're seeing new technologies develop longer out for sure, but I think that's where it enables us to think differently as material providers and packaging producers, right, product producers, but prepare for that future and think about different alternatives that we can have. It's not like we're going to design one package and it fits all solutions. And I think we have to keep that in mind. What are the different marketplaces? What are the different opportunities? What are the opportunities today and how we make those better steps today, but also what are the opportunities that could come tomorrow so that we make a better step for the future?
Thank you so much. Well, for the lack of time, I think we could talk about this endlessly. Okay, but I would like to open the floor to anyone in the audience if there are any questions. Yes.
Is it working? Okay. Thank you for a very interesting discussion. I would launch a provocation a little bit. So in the packaging community, we see all this wonderful research on recyclability, compostability. Then we see the push towards connecting packages, smart labels, electronic labels. How do we harmonize these things?
I think the solution is to work in the cross-value chain initiatives or groups, because everybody brings their perspective, and at the end they all need to sit around one table to take one collective decision. And that was really the whole concept behind Compostable by Design, is that you need to have material producers to bring the innovation from their space, but at the same time you need the brands to make their mind, this is the most absolute sustainable solution. And we need the composters to be on board on that, to understand and accept the material. And of course, then you need the research institutes, you need the certification. So it is a big concept that cannot be tackled only by one part of the value chain. You really need also the converters to make up their mind. But the converters are usually driven by the brands and the retailers. So for us, for example, in Compostable by Design, the brands and retailers and the composters and biogas associations are absolutely necessary, because if they don't talk to each other, or they just talk with the material producers, we will never solve the problem. We will just go around our tails.
We don't hear you.
My question was because we want DPP, we want consumer experience, we want information on the package. You make this wonderful, lean, compostable package, and then somebody comes and put an NFC label because the consumer has to see where the product comes from, and that kind of disrupt the whole loop. So. And I know brands are interested in that too. So I'm wondering at some point if we will have to sit down and harmonize all these inputs all together.
I think in that space you can take it, Eric, but there is a lot of innovation there as well. We'll talk about it.
Is this on? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's challenging, right? You only have so much pack real estate to put all the information on you want to. But I think there's compliance coming too, right? So how do we keep compliance? How do we track things? All the AI machine learning tools on the recyclers, vision tools. So how do we use QR codes? How do we use other types of information to convey just a lot more, right? Not so many, but that we can get to convey to consumers what to do with the packaging and why it's important that they do things to track packaging for compliance. I think we're all asking that question. If we design for recycling, did it make it? Where did it go? Did it get to the right place? And then how do we ensure it gets to the right place? So a lot more to be done there, but I think the vision tools, the AI and machine learning are going to help that.
Culture is also something that has to grow step by step. I have no idea if you are coming from Italy or where else. Yeah. In Italy, you know, until some years ago, nobody was collecting the waste in a correct way. Then, okay, step by step, now we are in a fantastic level, even European side. We are the best country in Europe. Even in terms of compostability, waste management, it's a question of culture. Of course, there should be technical solutions that are really valid, that are really effective. So when the technical solution is effective, then talking to the people and let understanding how to manage, it's easier. Of course, we need to stay all together in the same boat, and that's why also we decide to do this speech this afternoon, because it's important to understand that there are all the people involved in the same value chain that are moving in the same direction, exactly to propose to the market a valuable solution, and then the market step by step could learn how to use.
Thank you, Fabrizio. I think there's a lot that we could discuss. Unfortunately, we do not have more time, but once again, thank you so much, panelists, for joining us this afternoon. Our audience, if you would like to stay and network and ask more questions to our panelists, you're free to do so. But once again, thank you so much for attending this panel discussion.